So have you ever looked at your own life and thought, why do I keep doing this? Or I know what to do, so why am I not doing it? If that's you, I want you to hear this clearly today because the reality is you're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not even weak, and you're not lacking potential. Most of the time, what we call self-sabotage is not a character flaw, but it's a loop, a pattern that we've created. It's a mental loop, an emotional loop, a nervous system loop, and an identity loop. And once you can see that loop, that pattern, you can interrupt it. And that's what today's episode is all about. So today we're going to talk about why self-sabotage is not laziness and how identity keeps old patterns alive. We're also going to be talking about how to use pattern interrupts to break a cycle before it starts running your life on some kind of autopilot mode. And I want you to stay with me until the end because I'm going to give you a practical tool that you can use the next time you feel stuck in a loop or like you're spiraling, procrastinating, overthinking, shutting down, avoiding, or talking yourself out of the very thing you said that you wanted. Now, here's the truth. Your next level does not require a new personality. It just requires a new pattern. Welcome back to the Burgess Method Podcast. I'm Jess, and here we talk about the brain, behavior, identity, emotional regulation, NLP, self-leadership, and the hidden patterns that shape the way that we live, love, lead, and work, as well as grow in our lives. This podcast is for people who know that they're meant for more, but keep finding themselves stuck in the same emotional or behavioral cycles. This is also for the person who's been reading all the books, listening to the podcasts, saved all these inspirational Pinterest quotes, maybe even bought that like self-help journal, and yet still thinks, why am I actually not changing? And today I want to lovingly challenge the way that we think about that. Because most people hear the word self-sabotage and immediately we start shaming ourselves. We think, I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I'm undisciplined, I just don't want it badly enough, right? But from an NLP and nervous system perspective, that is often not the full story. See, self-sabotage is usually not a lack of desire. It's often a conflict between what you consciously want and what your subconscious mind believes is safe, familiar, or even possible for you. That is a very, very different conversation. What is self-sabotage really? Let's make it super simple. Self-sabotage is when one part of you says, I really, really want this. And another part of you says, absolutely not. This is unfamiliar. This is risky. It might expose us. This might change how other people see us or want to hang out with us. And it might require us to become someone new. That's really scary. So consciously, you want the goal, you want the result, you want the business, you want the relationship, you want the confidence, the health, the money, the visibility. But subconsciously, your system may have learned success equals pressure, or visibility equals criticism, or money equals conflict. It could have learned something like love equals vulnerability, which is quite scary for the human mind. Rest might feel like guilt. Like if I rest, I'm lazy and I should feel guilty about needing rest. Boundaries might equal rejection. Being seen equals danger. So you do not self-sabotage because you're lazy or incapable. We sabotage because we feel a deeper part is trying to keep us inside some sort of familiar emotional reality. Now, is it helping you? No. Is it logical? Not always. But is it trying to protect you? Most times, yes. And this is why beating yourself up doesn't work. You can't shame yourself into safety, and you can't bully your nervous system into trust, and you can't insult your way to a new identity. It just doesn't work. And this is where I think so many personal development conversations miss the mark. They say, just be disciplined, just be consistent, like wake up earlier and stop making excuses. And listen, I love discipline. I love standards. I love taking action. But if the deeper pattern is not addressed, discipline becomes another stick that you beat yourself with. And then what happens, right? You set the goal, you get motivated, you create a plan, you start, you feel good, and then the old identity gets triggered. Your nervous system feels the change, it gets scared, and the mind starts looking for all reasons why you need to retreat from this new system. And suddenly you're exhausted, you're distracted, you're irritated, overwhelmed, and you're convinced that maybe it's just not the right time for you to go after this new identity, this new result. And that, my friend, is the loop, the self-sabotage loop. Let me give you the pattern in a really, really simple way. Self-sabotage usually follows this loop. There's a trigger, a meaning, a state, a behavior, a result, identity reinforcement, and then it starts again. So let's just break this down. First, there's a trigger. Maybe you need to post a video, maybe you need to send an invoice, maybe it's having a difficult conversation, or you need to apply for a particular opportunity. Maybe you need to be more visible, maybe you need to commit to something, and that trigger creates a meaning. Your brain asks, what does this mean? And depending on your old programming, it may answer, this means I could be judged. This means I could fail. This means that I think I'm too much. People might think I'm too much. This means I might disappoint someone. This means that I might succeed. And then I have to keep succeeding. People are going to be watching me to make sure that I keep succeeding and I'm not going to fail. And that means something else. And what this does is this meaning creates a state, an emotional state, right? So this meaning creates a state of anxiety, avoidance, freezing, overwhelm, irritation, fatigue, confusion, or just like total not going to go there, right? And then that emotional state that was caused by the trigger in our old programming creates a behavior. You delay, you scroll, you snack, you clean the house, you rewrite the caption 10 times, you suddenly need more research. You tell yourself you're waiting for clarity or a better time, a simpler time, more convenient time, or you convince yourself that you work better under pressure and you abandon the thing. Then the behavior creates a result. Nothing changes, right? And the goal gets pushed out again. The opportunity passes, the confidence drops, and then your brain uses that result to reinforce the old identity, which is like, see, I never finish things. See, I'm not consistent. And see, I'm not good at business. And yeah, won't you look at that? I knew it. Like I always mess things up. So we reinforce that old identity. And that is the loop. And the painful part is that every time you repeat the loop, it starts to feel more true, but it's not the truth. It's just repetition. And repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity starts to feel like identity. And this is why we have to be very, very careful with the sentence, this is just who I am. This is just the way I was made. Because sometimes it's not who you are. It's not just the way you were made. Most times it's just what you've been repeating. It's just what you've rehearsed over and over again. Identity is the operating system. Now, let's talk about identity, because this is where the work gets really, really powerful. See, your identity is not just your name, your job, your age, your personality, or even your past. Your identity is a collection of beliefs and meanings and memories, emotional patterns, and internal pictures that you use to answer the question, who am I? And your behavior will usually try to stay loyal to that answer. So if deep down your identity says, I'm the one who struggles, I'm the one who gets overlooked, I'm the one who has to work hard for everything, I'm the one who is bad with money, I'm the one who gets rejected, I'm the one who starts but never finishes, I'm the procrastinator, whatever it is, then even when you set a new goal, your system may pull you back towards the identity that it recognizes. And this is not because you are doomed, but it is because the brain likes consistency. That's all it is. It likes prediction. It likes familiar pathways. So when you start acting outside your old identity, there may be like this internal alarm system that goes off in your brain that says, whoa, this is new and that's uncomfortable and that's scary. And like, are you sure you want to do this? And that's when we start to backpedal away from our goals and go into a self-sabotage loop. And it's not because the new thing is bad, but it is because the new thing is unknown. And unknown to the brain often feels unsafe until we train it to feel familiar. This is why the identity work matters. See, because if you only change your behavior, but you do not update your identity, the old pattern often just comes back. Okay, so you can force yourself to take action for a while. Like you can push, you can hustle, you can motivate yourself. But eventually, if your internal identity has not shifted, your old system will say, come home. This is not us. Like, let's just revert back to the old way. And home might be procrastination. Home might be people pleasing. Home might be emotional chaos. Home might be undercharging. Home might be something like hiding or overthinking or choosing the same type of relationship over and over again, right? It's not because it's good, it's just because it's known. And the work is not to hate the old identity. The work is to just update it continuously until you start getting the results that you desire. The brain is not the enemy. One of the things I love about Dr. Lee Warren's approach to this whole idea is that we can become more intentional about the thoughts we allow to operate in our mind. Not in like a fluffy way, but and not in like a just think positive way, but in a disciplined, practical, almost like surgical way. Like we can start paying attention to what our thoughts are creating, like what thoughts are creating our current emotional experience. We can start paying attention to that, and we can start noticing what stories are becoming instructions in our brain, because every thought that we repeatedly sort of agree with becomes part of the way we experience life. Now, if you keep rehearsing, I can't handle this, your body starts responding as if you can't. If you keep rehearsing, I always fail, your brain starts filtering for evidence that you always fail. If you keep rehearsing something like people will judge me, your nervous system starts to respond to visibility like it's dangerous. So your brain is not the enemy. The brain is extremely powerful, but it does need leadership. It really does. The brain needs you to lead it. And this is where I like the work of like Tony Robbins, because he talks about state, and it becomes so useful to understand your emotional state and that you can shift it on command. Because if you are in a low, fearful, collapsed state, like you will not access your best thinking. That's just the science of it. Like if you're in a low emotional state and your body goes into this low, slow mood, like you just don't access the best parts of your thinking. That's just the science. And you're not going to be able to make empowered decisions from a disempowered state. Logic, right? Like you're not going to make empowered decisions from a disempowered state. Your physiology matters. Your focus matters. Your language matters. Like even your breathing and posture, it all matters. Your internal pictures, they matter. And your questions, that's a big one. Your questions, those internal questions, they really matter. So before you try and solve your entire life, sometimes the first move is change your state, because a different state gives you access to a different part of yourself. And that's magic. So what is a pattern interrupt? Now let's bring in pattern interrupts. So in NLP, like a pattern interrupt is kind of exactly what it sounds like, actually. It's a deliberate interruption of an automatic pattern. So think of your brain like a record player, okay? Like one of those old record players. And the needle drops into the little groove of the record, and the song starts to play. The same song that always plays, it starts to play. Same trigger, same meaning, same emotion, same behavior, same result. Okay. Now, a pattern interrupt lifts the needle. It creates a gap. And in that gap, you get to choose. And that is the power. Not because the interrupt solves your whole life in like 5 seconds. That's not what happens. But because it stops the old loop from completing itself automatically. And once that loop is interrupted, you can install a new response. Let me give you an example of this. Let's say you need to post a video for your business. You open the camera, you suddenly feel awkward, and your brain says, this is embarrassing. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, who do you think you are? And people will judge us. Then your body tightens. You feel like hot and flustered. Your breathing gets shallow or non-existent. Like you hold your breath, you put your phone down, and you decide, I'm just going to do it tomorrow. That, my friend, is a loop. The pattern interrupt might be you stand up, you shake out your body, you take 3 strong, powerful breaths, and you say out loud, pause, this is an old loop. Then you can ask something like, what would the confident version of me do in the next 60 seconds? Then you press record and create a messy first take. That is a new pattern. Not perfect, but new. And new is where freedom starts. When your brain gets that space of this is new and there's a novelty, it starts to learn, and it waits for you to start giving instructions. That gap is essential. So why do most people fail with pattern interrupts? So if you've heard of a pattern interrupt and you're like, oh, Jess, I've tried this before and it hasn't worked, this is probably why. Now, here's where I want to be honest with you. Most people hear about pattern interrupts and they think it means doing something like random. And it's not like exactly wrong. Like clapping your hands, jumping around, saying a funny word, changing your posture, like those are pattern interrupts. And yes, sometimes a physical interruption works really beautifully. But a pattern interrupt isn't just about doing something weird. It has to interrupt the actual strategy that your brain is running. So if your self-sabotage loop is mental, you may need a thought interrupt. If your sabotage loop is emotional, you may need a state interrupt. And if your sabotage loop is physical, you may need physiology or physiological interrupt. Okay. If your sabotage loop is identity-based, you may need an identity interrupt. So instead of asking, what random thing can I do to interrupt my brain? Ask, what part of the loop needs interrupting? Is it my thoughts? Is it my behavior? Is it my emotional state? Is it my physiology? What is it? That is where the real work really starts, when we start asking better questions. So let's talk about 4 pattern interrupts that you could practice and see which one lands best for you. So number 1, this is the physiology interrupt. So this is where you change your body to change your state. So that means you will stand up, you'll move, you'll shake your hands, clap your hands, you'll change your breathing, open up your chest, walk outside, stretch. You'll actually shift your body. If your body is in a disempowered state, like your emotional state follows suit. That's pretty key. So in number 2, the language interrupt. This is where you stop the sentence that is driving the pattern. For example, if your mind says, I always mess this up, you interrupt it with, that is not a fact. That is an old loop. Or I'm not available for that story today. Might be pause, new instruction. Then you choose a better sentence. This is not fake positivity. It's a better command. It's something like, I can take the next honest step. I can do this imperfectly as long as I start. I can feel nervous and still move forward. Number 3, this is what we call a focus interrupt. Now, your brain will always move toward what you focus on. That's really cool. It's also really dangerous because if you're focusing on all the things that might go wrong, your brain's going to try and move you towards it. So we don't want to do that. Okay, so if you're focusing on judgment, failure, rejection, and embarrassment, your state is going to follow that movie, that script. Okay, so you have to ask better questions. So instead of saying, what if this goes wrong? You're going to ask, what if this helps one person? Instead of asking, what will people think? You're going to ask, what do I stand for? Okay, it starts to change how your brain is processing the meaning behind taking action. Instead of asking, what if I fail? You're going to ask, what is the smallest brave action I can take now? Questions are powerful because they direct the brain's thinking. Number 4, the identity interrupt. This is a deep one because when you catch yourself behaving like the old version, you pause and ask, who am I being right now? Then ask, who am I becoming? And this matters because your future identity needs evidence. Remember, the brain is lazy and it's not going to move towards something unless it has evidence that it's real and that you're going to get the result that you desire. So you cannot just think your way into a new identity. You need to build it with repeated proof. And this is where confidence comes from, by the way. Many people want to feel confident before they get the evidence, but the result is you have to create the evidence in order to experience confidence. Most people have it a little bit backwards. So every time you take one aligned action with the person you're becoming, you create evidence, and evidence becomes belief. Now, I want to give you a practical tool that you can use today. Now, I call this the loop breaker tool. It has 5 steps. Step 1. Name the loop. Don't catastrophize it. Don't dramatize it. Do not shame yourself. Just say it like it is. This is an avoidance loop. This is an overthinking loop. This is a people-pleasing loop, a visibility fear loop. It could be a money safety loop. So get the loop. Don't dramatize it. Don't catastrophize it. Just name it. Boom. When you name the loop, you separate it from yourself. So it's not yours. You don't own it. It's not your identity. That's what we want. We want the brain to separate it from ourselves. You are not the loop. You are the person observing the loop. This is essential. Step 2, interrupt the state. Change your body before you try to negotiate with your mind. Change your body before you try to negotiate with your mind. Stand up, take a deep breath, walk outside a little bit, breathe through your nose, exhale slowly, drop your shoulders, open the chest up, and look up. Okay? This all helps. Move your body for just 20 seconds. Change what you're doing here. What you're doing when you change your physiology is you're telling your nervous system, we are not continuing on an old pattern automatically. Step 3 is challenging the meaning. And we do this by asking a clarifying question. So you're going to ask, what am I making this mean? So what is the meaning that I'm attaching to this? What am I making this loop mean? It could be making one mistake mean failure. Once you see the meaning that you've been attaching to this loop, you're going to challenge it. And you're going to do this by asking another clarifying question. Here's what you're going to ask. Number 1, is that actually true? Like, is it actually true? Was it just one random incident? Or was it a couple of incidents, but it's not actually an identity? It's just a mistake. It's human. So is that actually true? The second question is this danger or is this just discomfort? Okay, very important that the brain starts to realize like some things are dangerous, like stepping into a fire, dangerous. And some things are uncomfortable, like putting yourself out there, taking a risk, challenging yourself. Discomfort, you'll survive. You'll survive discomfort. Okay, so is this danger or is this just discomfort? Make sure that you answer that question very clearly. So the third question is this a threat or is this growth? And try always see if there's a growth opportunity in this. It's very important. Step 4, choose the identity. Ask yourself, what would the next version of me do right now? So the person I want to become, what would they do in this situation? It's not the perfect version. It's not the billionaire version. It's not the enlightened version who never gets triggered. It's just the very next version, the next level up, the version that's just one step ahead. What would they do in the situation? Would they send a message? Would they be opening the document? Would they record the first draft? Would they take a walk? Would they say no? Would they apologize? Drink water? What would they do? Step 5, take one tiny action immediately. Don't wait. Don't be like, I'll do it tomorrow morning. Immediately take one tiny action towards this. Remember, this is where we build evidence. And with this evidence, the brain starts to create a new reality, build confidence, believe that this new identity is the real you. So take one tiny action immediately. It's crucial. The pattern is not broken by thinking. The patterns are broken by taking new action consistently. Action creates evidence, and evidence creates identity, and identity creates a new pattern. So everything I've shared with you today, it works because every pattern needs fuel. Old loops feed on unconscious repetition. It needs you not to notice. That's why awareness is often the first step in changing any pattern, because an old unconscious loop needs you not to notice it in order to keep going. It needs you to believe every thought. It needs you to collapse into an old state, and it needs you to obey the old story. But the moment you observe it, interrupt it, question it, and act differently, you begin to reclaim authority over your own life, over your own mind, over your own behaviors, identity, results. And I want to say this gently but directly. You cannot build a new life while staying loyal to every old emotional pattern. At some point, you have to decide, I understand why this pattern exists. I honor how it protected me, but I'm no longer available for it to run my life and my future. That is self-leadership. It's not self-hatred. It's not self-punishment. It's not perfection either. It's just leadership in its purest form. The ability to notice what is happening inside you and choosing a more aligned response is the purest form of leadership that you can start to install as a new habit and behavior in yourself, a new identity. So Here's the controversial part to everything that I've taught you today. Some people are not stuck because they do not know what to do. It's that they're stuck because they are emotionally loyal to an old identity. And that might sound really harsh, but just stay with me a second. A new identity can feel strange. Peace can feel suspicious, success can feel exposing, healthy love can feel boring, and ease can feel like undeserving. You can feel like it's too easy, so you don't deserve it. Money can feel unsafe, and being seen can feel threatening. So your brain may try to pull you back into the old cycle, the old role that you were playing. Not because it is good, not because the brain doesn't want to help, but it's just because it's known. And it's where you need to understand compassion and standards. You need both. You need to have compassion and standards for yourself. Compassion says, I understand why I learned this pattern, why I adopted this pattern, why I do this. Standards say, but I'm not living from this space anymore. And you do need both, because compassion without standards can become endless processing. And I think some of us have had this in personal development journeys. If we've been to a particular therapy for years, we get huge understanding and compassion, but it becomes this endless processing instead of action taking. And standards without compassion can very quickly turn into like a self-attack, like a me bashing event. And the Burgess Method sits in the middle. We honor the pattern that exists, and then we interrupt it, and then we install something better, something that gets better results. And I want you to remember this. The old pattern may be familiar, but familiar does not mean final. You are allowed to become someone new. If this episode helped you see your self-sabotage differently, I want you to take the next step. I've created a workshop called Brain Lab that breaks all this down into a very simple step-by-step framework for you to follow so that you can identify your patterns, interrupt them, and choose your next aligned action. You can join by clicking the link in the description below, but hurry, because these workshops fill up really, really fast. And if you know someone who keeps calling themselves lazy, inconsistent, broken, send this episode to them, because sometimes one new explanation can give someone a whole new meaning in their life and hope to try it again. So remember, you're not broken, you're patterned, and patterns can change. I'll see you in the next episode.